Today, we've got Patrick Moorhead here, who is a extremely successful businessman and has accomplished a lot in his life, and I'll give him a moment to talk about that. But he's on the Oubre Medical podcast, so he's here to talk about his amazing health journey. He's truly one of our poster adult children that's done an amazing job, has really done all the hard work and all the things we've asked of him, and has had an incredible journey. And we've made him a little worse along the way and made him better now today. So I want to ask him all kinds of questions about that journey. But first, Pat, no one knows who you are except for all the millions of people that do. But people watching my show probably don't know who you are. So give us a little background of who you are. You're 57 years old, if I may say, even though you don't look it. And so give us a little background story on who Pat Moorhead was before he came to see us, because you came to see us in August 2023, and it is now March 2025, so almost 2 years ago. So give us a little story about where you were and what you were feeling before you came to see us.
So first off, thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for spending your time with us, Pat. We love you.
Absolutely. I've done 252 podcasts of my own, and very rarely am I the one primarily talking. Usually it's 50-50. But no, listen, July 5th, I think it was 2023, had a great July 4th weekend at the lake house and just felt like absolute garbage. At that point, I was probably pushing, I think, 235 pounds.
Ooh.
Maybe.
And what are you right now, Pat?
I'm like 175, 180-ish.
And a bit more muscle than the 235.
No, that's right. In fact, just in the last 8 months, I put on 12 pounds of muscle mass, and I've shifted, from heavy-duty weight loss to heavy-duty muscle mass adder. But, back at that lake...
Cerise, she's got this real big grin over here, right?
No, and... Oh, it is. No, Cerise, it was a huge part of getting on it. I drift a little. I'm afraid for Cerise to see my latest DEXA scan.
That's called normal.
And what she's going to say. But no. I was very sluggish. This is back in 2023. I was on 3 blood pressure medications. I would approximate, 38, 40% body fat. So...
And I just first body count, or had you lost a little weight before you'd come to see us, Pat?
Not a ton.
Okay,
but maybe a few pounds. Yeah, it was pretty hefty. I think, I came in and I did
27% body fat.
Yeah, I did not do an immediate.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
We missed you a couple times. I forget why.
Yeah.
But it was November by the time we did your body comp. So you were definitely higher than 27% by that point.
Yeah, and we had started. I think we started in August, possibly. Anyways, my memory's foggy. It's clear now.
Well, that's why we have a chart in front of us. We've got all the answers right here. So tell us a bit about the stress you were under and your accomplishments, so people have an idea of who you were coming to the table. You weren't someone that had been eating salads and kale before that.
No, I mean, listen, I like to joke that I was on the combination meat eating and Weight Watchers at the same time, which is pretty much eating everything. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't really following anything. I had a few, I did a few decades before keto worked for me, where I would lose 10, 20, 30 pounds, and then I would just pile it back on. But as you know,
so frustrating.
I'm on the road 40 plus weeks a year, and
there's only 52.
No, I know.
and
unlike most people, I lost weight during the pandemic because I didn't have to travel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. I'm the same. Laura and I do a good bit of travel, and we always eat worse when you travel than you are at home. That's just a fact. Now, Cerise probably eats better when she travels than when she's at home, because...
You witnessed that this weekend. That's not true.
I did witness. I will not out her on camera.
I mean, I have figured out with Cerise's help kind of how to pull this off on the road.
Good. Okay. So we've got many questions. So give people an idea of, okay, so if I may use the F word, so you're fat. You've called yourself fat, right?
100%. There is no fat shaming with me when you're fat. So, in fact, people do give me the side eye when I say I'm fat, but I literally have a folder on my smartphone that says Fat Pat.
Yeah.
That I show. I pull that thing out every once in a while.
And if we can, we'll put some of those photos up for people to see where you were and how incredible you look now, Pat. We're all marveled at it. So this journey wasn't easy. But first of all, tell us, so you mentioned kind of some of the symptoms, but what were the main symptoms you came to us feeling that you didn't even know if they were reversible, I'm going to assume? You were hoping they were, but yeah, tell us how you felt when you came in.
Yeah, low energy around 2 p.m., right? Just absolutely exhausted, had to pump myself in maybe 3 cups of coffee just to make it to the end of the day. And the other one was I was on 3 blood pressure medications, and I was still banging out like 150 over 100, something along those lines.
While on the medications.
That's right. My doctor just said there's nothing else I can give you to bring that down. And then my primary care doctor, which by the way I haven't seen in I don't know since I started seeing you.
I'll take that as a compliment.
It totally is. Said that there was nothing else we could do.
You're just stuck with it.
Yes, pretty much.
So low energy, high blood pressure. What other symptoms, Ben?
I would say not that that's it, but those were the 2 primary reasons. And I knew I was obese and fat and didn't like it. My wife is beautiful and fit, and I just was feeling like totally unfair. And at 57, mortality is closer than it is far away.
I think as men, we have that little bit of luck that women don't mind us being as chubby as we mind them being.
Well, I can't believe. Yeah, shout out to Paula, who's also a patient, but I can't believe she dealt with that for so long. Just so much grace, right?
Oh, marriage! What a wonderful thing. Okay, so what did you know about functional medicine before you came to see us? Were you a huge believer, or were you like, "What? I'm going to try this, but this is some snake oil if I've ever seen one"?
I had never heard of it before. I mean, I'd heard the term before, like just intellectually, but I really had no idea what it was. And then a friend of mine recommended specifically you and your clinic to go check out.
I didn't remember that. I didn't remember how you had found us. So it was a friend that told you about us?
Exactly. A friend who, I think was going, but he won't tell me. It's the weirdest thing ever.
We won't say his name in public, apparently. We've had that happen before. We've had people refer us that have never actually seen us, but have heard. I guess that means we're doing a good job if people that have never seen us are referring to us.
He's a doctor, so I don't know if he didn't want it to be his recommendation. Maybe one of his other patients went there. It's kind of an oddity. But after 2 or 3 conversations of me lamenting about how I feel, and he's like, "You really just need to go do this." So I just went and did it.
Were you taking any supplements or anything before you came to see us?
I wasn't. Well, actually, I was taking Ozempic. And I think that's how I had lost a lot of weight before I came in. But that's it. I know that's not technically a supplement, but it is supplementing what I was doing. Yeah.
A couple more beginner questions that I think people would like to hear is I use ChatGPT to come up with some great questions.
It's pretty good, right?
I know you're a big AI fan. When was the first time you really realized your health was declining? And let me preface that question. I think so many people that come to see us are just like, well, I'm 50. This is just how you feel at 50. And so I want you to tell people that, A, that's not how you have to feel at 50. But hold on, I'm layering multiple questions in there. And in family medicine and my training and all that, we're taught about all these chronic diseases called high blood pressure and diabetes. But when people have high blood pressure, and probably yourself included, if I asked you if you had a chronic disease, you'd say, no, I don't have a chronic disease, because you don't recognize it as such. So I think health and wellness is such a fickle thing that just slowly dissipates from us. We don't just wake up at 50 and go, oh my God, I'm now brain fogged and now fatigued and now my joints hurt. It's this little bitty thing that kind of creeps up. So when was that realization? Definitely that July 4th, it sounds like. Was that the first time you really realized your health was not where you wanted it to be?
About every 5 years,
Yeah.
I would do a reset. And my dad's a vegan. I tried that for like a week.
Mm-hmm. We don't recommend vegan.
Didn't work. I didn't. I cut alcohol out for 5 years, 5 or 6 years.
Did you say years? You cut alcohol out completely for 5 to 6 years?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're not an alcoholic when you get cut it out for a month, but 5 years.
Yeah,
Good.
and just now I'll just maybe have one drink every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even desire it
Good.
anymore,
Good.
which is absolutely a miracle.
So I don't want you to implicate yourself in any way, but how was your health affecting your personal life and or business life? Were there things you wanted to do and just couldn't do, or you weren't that sick yet?
No, I was the guy that for work I would just caffeinate. Right, I'd get super tired.
I got mine.
Yeah, and I still hit it in the morning. Try to have my last at 2 p.m. But I'm really trying to cut it out in the afternoons.
Yeah.
It positively impacts my sleep quality.
Yep.
But no, I was the guy that had low energy, no energy, brain fog, and that permeates everything.
Mm-hmm.
You have less patience for personal relationships. When you don't have energy, what do you want to do? You kind of want to be alone to reset.
Mm-hmm.
And lack of quality sleep during business. It's interesting. It permeates personal and business in very similar ways when it comes to attentiveness, when it comes to energy, and paying attention, listening. It's interesting. Really very similar characteristics across it.
Yeah. And what I find people do, especially in high-powered jobs like yourself, Pat, is where you have to keep working because that's the machine you've created. So now it takes more energy to work because things don't work as well. And so then the personal life takes an even bigger dive because you burned all your energy at work. Now you've got limited left over for the family. And that's one of the things we focus on, right? Work-life balance.
Yeah, you jogged my memory a bit here, and I just feel like at work I can just crush it, just a machine.
But we've put restrictions on you.
Well, you
gave
have
me permission to mess. I was a little nervous about this because we barely knew each other. and
No,
this was
you
like
said
4 months or so in, and I asked permission to message your secretary, and you gave it to me. So I went in. What'd I tell her?
Yeah, what you said is you have to take time off to bring, I'm the most instrumented person. I've got my Apple Watch, I've got my Oubre ring, I've got my Samsung ring, I've got my Withings, body
Scale.
scan. So I knew what was going on. And I think you used an analogy with me, which was, listen, highest performance cars need to come in for maintenance and to power down. Olympic athletes do this as well, and you need time down too. So what my admin, Awesome McKenna, does is she puts time on my calendar. Maybe it's lunch as an example, which is like, okay, I want you to actually take this off. Do I always...
You made Cerise very happy right there.
Yeah. And the second thing is that when I'm on a streak, hey, it might not be a good idea to travel 6 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a keep out zone. And I was really afraid of my clients, getting angry with me or dissatisfaction when I can't go to their event.
Yeah.
I think at one streak I did 10 straight weeks on the road.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
And not that I'm gone the entire time, but let's say I'm gone Tuesday to Thursday or Monday to Thursday. And the other thing, the final thing is that finding at least one day on the weekend to relax and get my nervous system in a state where not clinically, but the metrics say you are relaxed. Okay.
I achieved it.
And my best friend, Daniel Newman out there, my business partner, he makes fun of me. He's like, I don't use any of this stuff. I just know when I'm tired.
Yeah.
I know when I have energy, and I don't need any device to tell me. I do. I'm not that smart. By the way, he's 42. So he's a young man, but
And can we talk about him a second? Because he's really muscular, right, Pat? And he was someone you're like, gosh, how does he do all this and look as good as he is and all that? And now you're catching up, right?
Yeah. We go on the road a lot together, and he is buff. And it's we play off each other, right?
Yeah.
I motivated him to stop drinking. And then he motivates me that says, no, you can work out on the road. Okay, you can absolutely work out on the road, and we've gamified it together. So
accountability.
Yeah, shout out to anybody. It's hard to do this stuff alone, and it'd be very hard too if my wife weren't into this as well. And I feel like I don't know if I would say I've motivated her, but when I come home and I'm like, look at my metrics, look at my blood, my look at what I'm doing with inflammation. She's like, well, wait a second now. We share the same training company as well. Shout out to Barton Guy Bryan.
We love him
out there
what
as well.
What a giant man, but this teddy bear. Just
Totally.
a great man. I don't know what he's like in the gym. I've just seen him personally. He came to the office. I don't know if the demon comes out when he's in the gym or what.
Well, demon comes out in me. He's spotting now, like, don't touch that bar. But no, having a buddy and surrounding yourself, it's going to be very hard to stay healthy if you're surrounding yourself with people that have unhealthy habits.
They've proven that. Yeah.
And I'm not saying get rid of your friend. By the way, same thing for business and motivation.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's very, very consistent. And it's not like get rid of all of your Cheeto eating friends, who are going to be dead at 65 or something like that. Yeah. But it's like maybe spend most of your time, maybe limit your time. Don't put yourself in situations. Thank you for jogging my memory. When I'm on the road with Daniel and for instance, a client says, hey, let's do dinner at 8 in Las Vegas, right? At this great restaurant. And I will be like, hey, I really care about you. Our relationship is very important. That's 10 p.m. my time to start dinner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In Vegas, hey, let's do breakfast.
Yep.
Instead, let's, or I'm going to swing by, do some appetizers and shake hands, kiss babies, and get out of there. And doing it with somebody who's on the same page is very, very helpful.
Setting healthy boundaries is probably one of the hardest things to do in our life, especially when we're people pleasers. So many questions, but we got to keep moving. One more question, and I think I just lost it before, because I want to dive into the mess. Oh, I remember what it was. Before we dive into really the medical journey that you've gone through, Pat, is that what was your main motivation to make these changes? Because it's not easy to do what you've done. I mean, you have really radically changed so many things about your life. So what was that kind of main motivation out there? Was it just don't want to die? That's usually not a good motivator. The knots are not usually a good motivator. You mentioned like Paula, like being better for Paula, whatever. So what was your main motivation to do this?
I think my main motivation was to just feel better.
Yeah.
And then that led to, you guys telling me what this whole thing is about, the 5 or 6 variables that go into the toxins. And so getting educated in that. And then, I'm a very motivated person. I look and I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but
We all have.
once I decide to do something, it gets done.
Mm-hmm.
And what's even more motivating is when there are hardcore metrics, whether they be blood, urine, stool, heart
We collect
rate,
it all. Tears.
HRV. No, I mean, even the one, CHL is, I think, 150 different things that.
14 tubes of blood.
No, exactly. So
You don't know what you don't test.
No, right. And to me, I know I can fool myself into how I feel, like how I was feeling so good for so long and being so unhealthy. I don't know. Maybe that's normal, but seeing the numbers and seeing the danger signs, that means a lot. And when it came to my blood pressure, one of the biggest reasons it was like, that's a number. Like, statistically
Can't lie.
speaking, this is the amount of people who die, who have this. When you put this with bad eating, limited exercise, and even minimal amounts of alcohol, it's not good. Bad sleep.
Yep.
So
The higher the number, the longer it is, the sooner you die. Just pure statistic. It's
yeah.
like
So
cigarettes.
it was kind of like a whipsaw effect, right? You go in, you dive in. I'm like, okay, I'm all in on this, which is the way that I've run every part of my life, including business.
So let's get into the medical part. So you showed up. We drew 14 tubes of blood. We did not do the body scan immediately. We usually do, and we do your max pulse and that stuff usually early on. But we did this Cleveland. You sent in 6 tubes of stool into this lab. What was your first experience with us? And I do want you to kind of tell people that if you were nervous, like, I'm paying this guy how much and he's asking me to do what? Is this real? Like, give us what that experience felt like in the beginning before you knew that you would be the Pat you are today. What did that feel like in the beginning? What was that like?
It was this, I don't quite know what they're doing or if this stuff will actually work.
I love it. Totally fair.
Because,
Challenge accepted.
sometimes, it's not like it is today. Let's dial back around 2 years ago where it's like, oh my gosh, this guy's a witch doctor, right? In terms of...
In a suit.
Totally. And like using terms I'd never heard before. But part of that was the allure, which is if I knew all this stuff and this was commonplace, I'd already kind of reached the point where a primary care doctor is break fix. I was on the board of directors of St. David's Medical Center, the largest hospital here. I was chairman of the board of St. David's Medical Center. So, I knew what the typical hospital medical system did, which was break fix. Okay. As opposed to what keeps you out of the hospital. And most of the time it was just a bunch of pills.
Yeah.
By the way, nothing wrong with pills. There are some things that people need. I mean, I think I'm taking like 27 supplements today. So,
and medications have their use also. We don't like to demonize medicine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what I did know is that what the current medical community didn't know how to treat somebody like me, my primary care physician, wasn't saying like, you need to radically change your diet. You need to radically start exercising. That was never in there. Sorry, I totally lost track of the question.
Oh, that happens all the time. I just did a podcast recently. I was like, wait, what was the question again? That means we're doing a good job talking. So give us an idea of what was the first steps that we asked you to do.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, it's fairly straightforward, and we're going to get to the dark section. That's going to be my favorite section. But in the beginning, we asked, and Cerise is relatively silent over here for some reason. But what was that like? Because she has a more front-loaded section than I do. My front-loaded section with patients is going over the blood work, going over the stool study, and starting some supplements, which are pretty easy to do. You either take them or you don't. But the heavy lifting is with Cerise and the nutritional changes. So tell us what that experience was like, going over the lab work and then getting started on the changes.
Yeah, so a lot of blood, a lot of urine, a lot of stool samples. I had to do the stool stuff twice. Somehow I'm like, the guy who screwed up didn't put the poop in the right vial.
Happened to me too, by the way. Mine got lost in the mail. I had to do mine a second.
No, and then you did a merge between the two. That's
right. I forgot about that.
That was impressive.
But
it's weird. Like I had expected to be all in the red.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Now, what Cleveland CHL comparisons is not versus healthy people. Let me be that clear. So there was a lot of green where I didn't expect green, a lot of yellows where I didn't expect it. But the biggest thing between my eyes was I was.
And let me pause there for a second, Pat, for people that don't. So the Cleveland Heart Lab sends us results, and they're one of the only labs, in this day and age, that actually categorizes your markers based on section. And it gives you green, yellow, red, like, am I in a danger zone? It's sad in today's age, and I know you're in tech, Pat, and I've told you before how disappointing medicine is. In today's day and age, more labs don't give you that green, yellow, red. It's just flagged with an H next to it and in blue letters, and that's all you get. You don't get what's optimal, what's medium, what's high, where's the risk? And so Cleveland does a great job of putting together reports, because what's really irritating to me about lab reports is the lab report is not really for the doctor. It's really more for the patient to make changes. We as doctors can see black and white numbers and tell you what's high and abnormal and all that, because that's what we do for a living. But the lab report specifically needs to be for the patient. It needs to make impact. So you see, wow, this number in the red, I want to make it in the green. That's just logical. Everyone understands that. My 9-year-old son could figure that out. So yeah, I forget now where we were going.
Well, when we went over this, and I want to dive into Cerise after this, and the nutrition part. But what I liked about it is a logical breakdown, right? Like, here's your vascular system, here's your heart, here's metabolic, here's inflammation, which inflammation, folks out there, is the devil, the root cause of all your life evils.
Preach it, Pat.
And, even the basic stuff. So it's not like, okay, my PCP, says, okay, I've broken something, let's get something tested. It's actually an early warning radar system for everything. And I like the way now, and we'll get into this, maybe later, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not all red. But I have to tell you, the one thing that scared the heck out of me was that I was showing, I forget the name of the test, but it says basically my heart was dying.
Not the max pulse one?
No. This,
troponin.
the
troponin one,
which, by the way, is still not green, I don't think, for me. But
it's
it was
process.
But it was in the red. It's like your heart cells are dying. Okay, and that was like scared a scared straight moment. But
no, you are. So it's called the high sensitivity troponin test, and you were 8, and normal is below 6, really 0. And the most recent one in November says you were 0. So you're reversing it.
Yeah, but when I got my first test back, it was something. But and maybe we can go in this later. But I was shocked.
Attention.
I was very shocked on inflammation. I wasn't all red, which I thought was going to be a complete nightmare. But what I appreciated about what Cerise did is it was very simple. She gave me 3 sheets
What
of
Cerise did was simple? Nutrition?
Yeah.
What?
It's so simple.
So I need to pay her less.
Well, when you try to second guess your nutritionist, that's one thing. But I came in, basically said, I've proven that I know nothing. Okay, therefore take my money. I will do what you say, and I want you to break me, and we'll get it. We'll get in that. You did break me.
We did
at one
Can't
point.
wait.
But no, I mean, Cerise just said basically, here's your 3-page list of what you can eat and what you can't eat. And if you have any, here's why, here's what we're doing, here's the plan, and and so I did it.
And I want to preface that, Patrick, you're a very motivated person, so she was able to do that, give you that list, and you're just, she's good at typing people and saying, okay, this person wants this and we'll do it. For many patients, we don't do that. We dip their toes in the water. So yeah, we gave you the full kit and caboodle because you wanted it and you were motivated and you were going to do it. And you did.
Yeah, and so, a lot of the stuff on there, I never felt like I was starving. Okay, now, I was on semaglutide. I'm not on it anymore. We'll see where that goes.
Because we just stopped it, right? A couple weeks ago.
That's exactly right. We're at that half-life, so it's not completely out of me yet.
But we took a really slow titration, so you've mostly been off of it for at least a month, if not 2.
Yeah. By the way, my heart rate is down.
Yeah, I told you.
My average heart rate is down almost 9 beats per minute.
Nice.
It raises that.
So I'm interested to see what it does with HRV that I've been freaking out about lately. But I never felt like Cerise ever put me in a position that I was hungry. Like, hey, if you're hungry, eat more protein, eat more fat. Okay.
There's plenty of food available.
If you think you want carbs, you don't want carbs, you want more protein or you want fat. I did find it, just because it's not the way I ever lived my life, was the multicolored vegetables to do that. So, it was hard kind of getting that in. But to me, it was a very simple list of here's what you can do and here's not. And Paul and I were divergent for a while on that. Paul is my wife, and that was okay.
That's hard.
But I learned something every month. And, I'm still asking Cerise questions about, hey, what about this? Protein versus carbs, make sure you put that together. But I just like the simplicity of it. It wasn't a 100-page document. It was a very simple, here's what you should eat, here's what you should stay away. I wouldn't say I cheated a lot, but a little.
Yeah. It's expected.
Yeah.
Cerise
And
did this weekend.
yeah.
I did.
I did too.
It's when you have a good nutrition plan like that, though, when you have something that makes sense, that we're reducing inflammation, you create space to be able to have those little spots of extra carbs or whatever it is that you want to bring into your food plan, so that you don't feel deprived, and so you can experience a lot of different, like you said, you travel a lot, so there's a lot of opportunity out there, and you should be able to indulge every now and then without putting yourself in a position where you're overwhelming your system.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that ask me, hey, what can't you eat? And I say the only thing I can't eat are processed foods. And everything else, like in super duper, what I find myself though doing is not even cheating. I mean, well, a little, gosh, is having a corn tortilla cheating? I mean, I guess, but it's like in the grand scheme of cheating, it's like, I don't even remember the last time. Desserts were never a thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
Not your problem.
It was never an issue that I had, but I can't even tell you the last time I had any sugar.
So we're getting to this dark period, which was you started with us in August, and it was by October, November where we got to the darkness. So when you started with us, made the nutritional changes before said dark period we're about to get to, were you feeling better at all from the nutritional changes and seeing any light in the tunnel? Got to be honest, Beth.
I don't think so.
You really weren't. You were marching ahead because that's who you are.
I felt, I looked better, which made me feel better. But it was very hard. I mean, caloric deficit, bombing my gut. The other part, what Cerise recommended was zone 2. Zone 2, live it, love it, hug it. It will.
So what
melt.
is zone 2, Beth?
Well, zone 2 is basically the heart rate that burns the most amount of fat. Cerise and I talked about what that might be. By the way, if you want to get the absolute professional, what is the zone 2 heart rate? Go get a VO2 max test. But Cerise and I kind of figured it out. Being able to have a conversation. It's not easy, but getting your heart rate in there for max fat burn. By the way, I do want to say, doing zone 2, and then I went and got a VO2 max after about a year of doing this. I'm in the 95th percentile of all humans, men my age, on that. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
The other thing that was interesting is, by the way, all this, I'm scared about semaglutide, blah, blah, blah. We're getting our blood tests monthly. We're checking everything, making sure, right, we get on that in-body and make sure I'm not losing muscle mass.
Correct.
And I remember Cerise telling me, boy, you can maintain muscle mass by doing zone 2. I'm like, there's just no way. There's absolutely no way. That makes no sense to me at all.
Zone 2 is underrated.
Well, for me, it was 3 miles an hour with a 10% incline. And miraculously, I really didn't lose muscle mass during this entire process. And the first year I was not lifting, not lifting anything.
Yep.
So sorry to drift there, but
no.
And where I was going on the pain and agony, doing zone 2 when you're in caloric deficit and you're obese and you're just not used to it was horrible.
It's hard. It's
like
really
literally, it was tough. And then, bombing the gut was absolute the back breaker for me. The one thing that just got me through the whole thing was that I looked better and people noticed and they were like, oh my gosh, there's something different with you.
Yeah.
Like, do you look different? Did you grow your hair? Or something like that. I'm like, no, I lost 20 pounds. So by the way, for the record, I did lose around 60 pounds from when I started.
And how much of that was muscle mass?
Almost none. I
Yes.
mean, it with a very, very minimal gyration of about 2 pounds. I don't.
Because there
don't
are
necessarily,
people,
I don't know.
And I think Peter T has changed his perception on it maybe by now, but he went on national news saying that you lose 30% of your weight, at least 30% of the weight you've lost is muscle mass. And I think he even quoted even worse muscle mass loss. And so I won't say he's wrong, because I think when you do semaglutide wrong, Ozempic and all that wrong, you do that. But our patients, when they're doing it correctly, they don't lose the muscle mass, and we don't get them to lose too much weight too fast. So thanks.
I read this stuff. It's like nonsense. But Cerise made sure I was eating enough protein, and we're doing zone 2, which again, I just thought there's no possible way I would ever gain, but I didn't lose any. Okay. The goal wasn't to gain any at this point. It was just to not lose it. And, getting tested at a minimum every 3 months to see what's going on biologically. That's the way to do it.
So I want to shift gears into more fancy functional medicine stuff, the fun stuff that I get to play with, not the stuff that Cerise gets to play with. Well, I guess she does this stuff too. But this whole biocidin, so to give people listening a little bit of a heads up, what we do is kind of the first couple months that someone comes to see us, we of course clean their nutrition, we help restore their gut with beneficial supplements, and then we go into this quote unquote killing phase where we're trying to eradicate bad organisms that have overgrown, yeast, fungus, bacteria, parasites, whatever it may be that we found on the stool study, or maybe didn't find, but know they're there. And so this phenomenon is called Herxheimer reaction or die-off reaction. And anyone that doesn't know that may want to do some research into that. But the worse people get on these programs, the better they feel afterwards. But that is really a big pill for people to swallow that are paying all this money to see us. And we're literally making them feel worse and promising them they're going to be better on the other side. So, Patrick, I want to hear about your story, because you this is not offensive. It's just your reaction is you didn't make it through the first round. We had to stop it. You were that bad. And I remember us having some real heart-to-hearts of like, trust me, Patrick, this is a good thing. And I know you were thinking like, what is this crazy witch doctor doing? So give people some idea of what you went through and how amazing you felt afterwards. Like it did work.
You warned me about everything.
I didn't lie. Yeah.
Can I just lay that out there?
Good.
It wasn't like you're like, this is death and destruction. I forget I forget the exact term. Maybe that was the exact term. But you like told me, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Bring it on. My Geneva test is like not terrible, like in the yellow.
That's
and
the
maybe
stool test, by the way. Yeah.
Like, hey, and I remember Cerise saying, hey, things might upset your stomach, and they never did. And, we're really hard butts in the Moorhead family. Like our gut resilience, like we could eat dirt and rotten food and we'd be okay. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. No, it destroyed me. And I was in on your couch actually crying because, my sleep quality went down. Yeah. No, I'm laughing at me. I mean, it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And my belief in this whole thing was wavering.
Wavering, to say the least.
I'm like, wait a second. The worse I feel, the more work it's doing. Okay, intellectually, I think I can figure this out. I don't think ChatGPT was invented yet, so I could go there and second guess you on everything. But no, it was absolutely awful. But there's nothing that happened that you didn't warn me about.
Good.
So I just want to lay that out there. And I did say, bring it on. Like,
You
Dr.
did.
Rube, I
You
want you to
did.
hit me, double barrel shotgun, all these other wimps you might have had before. I want you to lay this on and make me hurt. Listen, I'm from the Midwest. If it doesn't, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Literally, and that's what happened. So I have the timeline is in October 2023 we started, and you were having severe Herx reactions, and we actually had to pause by November because of brain fog and sleep and energy, and everything was rotten. And we didn't get started again until February. Now, part of the longer pause there is because of the holidays. We always focus on work-life, family balance, and so when you're November, December, that's holiday time. That's not time to do functional medicine stuff. We do that after the new year. So we did have a good 3-month pause, and most people, and I don't think you really needed a 3-month pause, although it did help. So walk us through what that 3 months off of the treatment was like, and how your faith was a little less wavering.
Well, first of all, Cerise gave me some recommended things to help me with the brain fog, like methylene blue and you know whatever kind of things would help. I forget the stuff we kind of added on there. I think
Do you remember anything?
I think
Binders
some
or
sort of mushroom type of thing
Yeah.
that I'm still taking this morning. But anyways, it just helps with second round. I mean, I like skated through. It was the weirdest thing. But in between, no, I felt great. Like everything went back to normal. My sleep got back to normal. And, you know, every one of my things on my watches and rings just kind of got back to normal. And then
metrics wise, which you can't lie, right? Objective data couldn't lie that you were feeling better. Clinically, I lost it in there. Clinically, between, and we'll call it first round kind of stopped, and then 1.5, round 1.5, restarted in February. So clinically, were you feeling any better than you showed up? I guess by then you were still in semaglutide, still losing weight.
I actually was. Yeah,
just
I had
a little better.
Yeah, I was.
So you were kind of, all right, maybe this doctor's not completely lying to me, that what he suggested would happen did happen. So even though I got worse and then better, it's starting to work. And so then you were ready to do it again, despite knowing this poison made you worse. You were willing to consume the poison again. It's not poison, it's supplements. The way it works is the reason why it's a poisonous is because of killing the bad guys. The bad guys make you feel worse, and until they're gone, then you feel better. So we restarted round 1 very slowly, and you had symptoms again, but you were able to get to the max dose of the biocidin, the 30 drops, still having Herx reactions, the die-off.
Wasn't terrible, though.
Right, not as bad
It
as the
wasn't.
first
In
time.
fact, I thought it was just going to be Nightmare 2.0, and it wasn't. So I don't know
and
if
it was the same supplement. Isn't that crazy?
It is, and I
The
don't know
same
if
supplement.
it was some of the the methylene blue or some of the other stuff. I don't know. I can't explain it, but
Yep.
I didn't sail through it, but I made it through it a lot better than I thought I was going to.
And then, so to fast forward a little bit further, as you mentioned, so we kind of finished round 1 completely by May. We took that one really slow, had a lot of work to do.
By the way,
yeah.
I actually followed the directions this time. Now that I look back,
I forgot. What did you do wrong?
well,
Double dose?
Cerise
or-
is like, don't go beyond this. I think it was like 2 drops, and then wait a couple days, see what happens. I actually follow the directions as opposed to, I'm going from 5 to 10. I'm not dead. And we're going from 10 to 15 drops. So I may have not have followed the direction. I don't remember, but all I know is I absolutely
There's a
followed.
blank space in your memory.
I followed the directions. That's the brain fog talking there.
Yeah.
No, but I absolutely followed the directions.
Yeah.
I actually have a quote here. He said, after reaching 30 drops of biocidin, the patient felt crushed. Like a basket case.
End quote.
That's good. No, I love that.
So as you mentioned, so that was kind of round 1 that we paused and then kind of restarted and finished round 1. So now we're at May 2024, and so that's a good 9 months into your treatment. So after round 1, I don't know how well you remember, but tell us how you felt kind of after that round 1 and all the darkness was past. Where did you feel like you were?
It's interesting. And I'm just, this is the honesty show. I
Please.
didn't feel as good as I thought I would.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm layering a bunch of stuff on though. Like I'm religiously doing zone 2 3 to 4 weeks, 3 to 4 days a week where maybe I hadn't. My energy was still a little bit it was better, but not like step function, at 2:00 in the afternoon, I want to go off and do cartwheels. But it was better. But I have to tell you, like being off of biocidin, dramatically better feeling. Okay. And I did feel better after the full round than even that interim step in between there. And I remember you will always ask me, well, how do you feel? And I'm like, I don't know.
Not a full believer yet.
Okay. It's like, do you feel better? Do you feel worse? I'm like, better. Okay.
Always
how
the
much
honest.
better? Right. But yeah, it's just, by the way, can I just step forward? I know we're not
Please
there
do.
yet.
Yeah.
I feel like $1 million.
Right.
Like it is black and white. And some days I even skip coffee after lunch.
That's amazing.
And I'm getting up. I used to get up at like 7:00 in the morning. I'm up at 5
And functioning.
and functioning and feeling great.
And in the gym.
Totally. Yeah. In the gym. A lot
Yelling
of my
at
work.
Barton.
No, totally.
To not touch the weight.
Exactly. A lot of my workouts start at 7, and there was no way I was going to do that before any time in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell us about that meeting where you showed up in workout clothes.
So yeah, I'm at one of the largest events. I think it was the Consumer Electronics Show.
And tell us who's in this meeting.
No, the senior leaders of one of my biggest of Lenovo, the largest PC manufacturer, highest market share.
So these are not nobodies.
Definitely not nobodies. Literally the executive who runs their entire commercial PC business.
And you show up.
And I show up in sweats.
And this was not even in Austin. This was in out of town, right?
This is Las Vegas.
So you're at an important meeting.
Important
showing
meeting.
up in Vegas.
And
with executives.
And
he shows up.
And I show up in sweats. And it's 3 other analysts, looking really coiffed, right, in nice clothes, and they, do the double take. And I just said, hey, I just want to let you know, gym didn't open up till 7. You called a meeting for 8. I'm here, but I wasn't going to forego my workout to do that. And
applause.
No, listen. I think you'll appreciate this.
Oh,
and then like everybody's coming out of the woodwork. One of the executives said, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I go to a functional medicine doctor. So we compare notes and
we're better, of course, when you compare notes, right?
No, totally. Okay. And like what we're taking and how it goes. And just to let you know, like I've had over 500 people DM me on LinkedIn and on X. I'm like, what are we doing? How do we start?
Come to see us because of you, Patrick. So we thank you for that. And people that don't even know you, they're like, well, I know him. He doesn't know me.
Well, and then the most senior executive in there is like, oh man, I need to get my game. I need to get my game on. And now he shares with me his health journey. Like we're trading stuff. So the relational, what I gave up for these late night dinners and after dinner drinks and all that stuff, I've more than made up for. I'm not kidding you. 50% of the time that I'm on the road, when somebody sees me, they're like, hey, saw what you're posting on LinkedIn. Really? You look amazing. Like, how do you do it? How do you start?
Yeah.
I'm your best biz dev guy out there for you. But anyways, that was an example of that's how a conversation got started. Some of the other analysts in the room were like, side eye, like, and I'm there just absolute looking huge.
Yep. It's okay to brag. That's what this is all about right here.
Yeah. So, that's the story.
And people are noticing.
People are noticing.
And
again,
they didn't kick you out of the meeting. They respected you because you had boundaries and you value those boundaries. They're important to you. And I think that's a big message for people out there that I've learned myself too. And I take vacations and stuff, kind of like you mentioned way earlier, was like I was scared to take vacations. Didn't want my patients to be discouraged and whatnot. But now I realize like That's important to me, and it's important for me to show my patients that vacation is important. Setting about that boundary is important, and it's not like I'm an ER doctor not showing up to my shift. People still have resources to go to. It's America. Anything else you wanted to say on that? I'm going to move along. So he's not crushed anymore. He's crushing it. It's not crushing him. So we finished kind of round 1 of our gut treatment,
Right.
1 and 1.5, and then anyone that's seen us knows that we do a round 2, which is basically the same exact supplement, same exact stuff, another 6-week program, but we add even more power to it. This time we add a prescription antifungal called amphotericin by mouth, not by IV, which is terrible IV, nothing by mouth. And this round is more powerful on the gut. And tell us how you felt on round 2.
I mean, I breezed through it so much that you're like, okay, it's not actually doing anything.
Right.
Right. I'm like, what do you mean? No,
Same supplements.
Listen, I coasted through that. Like, we even layered in biocidin. And biocidin, I just eat that stuff for breakfast now.
It used to crush him.
No, it used to crush me at like 15 drops and now 30. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah,
right.
No, that's how it works.
But no, you said, listen, that this must not be your issue because it's not doing anything. It's not destroying you. So, but I was very relieved. I thought I was going to die, and I didn't.
And so after we finished that round 2, you're just feeling better and better and looking better and better at this point. You started chelation infusions for heavy metals. So tell us a little bit about that and how that got started and whatnot.
Yeah, first of all, huge shocker. I think the first CHL that we got, there was a little indication, and then we went in and did a specific urine test after I'd had a few chelations. Actually, after the first chelation.
So you flagged for mercury,
mercury and
not
lead,
or arsenic on the blood, but then on
I think it's lead and mercury.
Not on the platelet, just mercury.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But when we did the formal testing, so that's the point there is that the blood test is a screening test. It kind of helps, but it's not the legitimate one. But yeah, on the formal test, you absolutely flagged for lead.
Well, it was a real head scratcher for me because the first thing you think of is, fish or something like that. And I'm still kind of scratching my head on kind of what happened. I did, grew up in a farmhouse that was 150 years old with metal pipes, deep metal fillings. I mean, I still have to this day no idea definitively, but where I'm at on this right now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that each body has the ability to get these out of their systems. And, this is why, and you warned me on this, or like, you might need 25 or 30 chelations. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So, chelation come in, it's probably an hour and 15 minutes, 3 or 4 different waves of stuff. I have researched this a lot, and where I'm at on this is you're definitely kind of cutting edge on this, and you're filling in some of the stuff to make sure that you've taken out of my body, which are some of the good, the good metals and good minerals are in there as well. And Cerise makes sure that I take my reacted multi-min. I think that's it. After I do that. But
so you've done 10 of the infusions now, and give us an idea of how those infusions have gone. People are often surprised, and myself included. I didn't do chelation infusions until like 2 or 3 years into functional medicine because I was spooked by them. They sounded scary. They sounded dangerous. And now they're like the easiest thing we do, Pat. So how do you feel going through the chelation compared to biocidin?
No, I mean, it's a cakewalk. It does take, it's an investment of time, and it's money. A big investment in money. And more times than not, it went well. I think I had one where, the insertion of the needle didn't go well, and we were filling, basically my forearm with fluid, pulled that back, realized that my right arm is a better place to put any type of needles. But listen, I kicked back. I had a heating blanket, and I did work. So I come in with my iPad, and I am holding court.
In our infusion room?
No, infusion room in my leather chair. So And the staff, is very attentive, asks me if I need coffee, if I need water, which I really appreciate. I come in with my bag of supplements, typically down those, maybe a protein drink.
Yep.
But what I do with my time is I work. So
It's not total wasted. You're
no, exactly.
getting some health done and doing the medical work too.
Right, but I've never felt terrible after it. I know you even warned me, hey, maybe 24 hours we might have this, but I've never, to my knowledge, had an adverse reaction from those.
And you just did your 10th one, and you taught me something on your number 10, Patrick. So what did you teach me on number 10? I made no big deal of it, and
well,
I
the
made a mistake.
directions say don't eat shellfish
Or
and,
fish, yeah.
and I just didn't even think. I had this big business dinner the night before, and the crab lollipops that they have. I think I ate 10 of them.
Wow.
Okay, and I said, hey, it's like coming into your teacher and telling your mom what you did that was something bad. I'm like, hey, do we even go ahead with her? You're like, yeah, what the heck?
Should be fine.
This should be fine. And what came back was like arsenic, like out the yazoo.
Yeah.
Did some chat GPT searches, and I was like, yeah, there's organic and inorganic arsenic. But we're
Yeah, so I'm looking at your levels. Your normal levels on a provoked sample, when we push it out of you, is 17 on your first one, and the after the shellfish was 670.
Yes, you assured me that I wasn't being poisoned by my wife or my kids or something like that. But
we're going to retest just to make sure you're not being poisoned.
well, exactly. But I think my lead and mercury were down. I know we're not talking about that yet.
But the caveat there is, and we don't need to get too lost in labs here, but anytime you have a metal that's skyrocketed like that, it will reduce the levels of the others because the chelation focused on the most prevalent. So we really can't predict where your mercury and lead were until that arsenic's back down. But that event, it does prove to you that the thing we often tell patients, which is when you've got an acute exposure, your level is completely off the chart. When you've got too much inside you, your level is high, but it's not that high. So, for example, your lead and mercury are in the 20s, 30s, 40s kind of deal, and those are high and kind of quote unquote off the chart. When you have an acute exposure to something, it is tenfold that, so 670 for an acute exposure. And that's a testament to the human body saying that the majority of metals that you're exposed to, you actually eliminate. You just collect a small portion of it. So back to your question of like, well, where did my mercury come from? Who the heck knows? Because you eliminated most of it, but you did collect enough over time to matter by the time you're 57, and now it has to be pulled out of you. So, so we'll be repeating that metal challenge.
Oh, I was feeling
soon.
good about the lead and mercury, just deflated my balloon.
Sorry. It is better. Each infusion you do, you will have less lead and mercury in you. But yeah, you will see the results soon, Pat. Don't worry. So then the next step, so we've done 2 rounds of gut work. We're doing some chelation infusions, and then we started our detox protocol, which we call lipid exchange. So tell us what that was like in the sand and all that crap. And we've got less than 10 minutes left, so keep going, Pat.
It didn't negatively impact me either. BioPC Pro and cholestyramine. That didn't, you warned me I would hate it. And I hated it so much, I asked Cerise, hey, can I combine these two into one tasty drink? And I did. I think the hardest thing there was traveling.
Yeah.
Like when you're traveling with these powders, I mean, it's super hard. To do that, and you're mixing them like potions in your hotel room. And this has been one that's the hardest for me to be consistent on are the powders.
Yeah.
You give me a pill and you give me liquid and I am good to go, or an injection. I'm good to go. But when it comes to the powder, it's just the toughest. I just kind of forget about it if it's not in that pill pack or my syringe.
Yep. So, and wrapping up, you've already said how awesome you feel and stuff, Pat. Anything that you've left out that you want to tell people? I mean, your energy's amazing. You're working out. You're putting on muscle. People notice. It makes you feel even better and more motivated. This is literally what we tell people. Wellness promotes wellness. Disease promotes disease. Birds of a feather flock together, right? So as you do this wellness thing, you will incorporate more wellness people, or people will become well with you. I don't think that was a question.
No, that was good editorial. No, listen, first year was tough. I'm not gonna lie, right? But as you start feeling better and the metrics start coming in, you just want to do more to get there. And I'm not going to pretend. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I need to work on. I'm kind of mixed. I still have hypertension. I don't know. There's some research that suggests that, hey, if everything else is in line, you've got hypertension, don't worry about it. It's just the way that God made you.
I'm still confident we'll be able to get you off blood pressure medicine at some point. I'm losing confidence. That might just be one of your weaknesses that you have to have a prescription for.
I think it was on 3, and I think we took
we're just
one
on
away,
2
and I think we're down to 1.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah.
Which if I can get down to 1,
that's still a win.
And yeah, I do think that's still a win, because I was having a hard time getting into the decent areas with 3. And there's also the jury's out on whether I can maintain my percentage body fat off of the semaglutide.
No. We're not worried about that.
I have no desire for alcohol, which is amazing.
That's good.
I mean, every once in a while, it's just, it's fun with fun with work and kids. But
kids. He has grown kids.
Yeah, my own grown. Yeah, sorry.
Drinking with 8-year-olds.
Exactly. My youngest is 22 out there. So, but no, I'm really excited about what the future holds. It's funny. I think I'm like a third of the way or halfway through the map, but I don't think this stuff ends.
I'm still doing it.
I would like to get my gut into a position where I don't have to take as many supplements. Where I can get it through food, because I am taking a lot of supplements. Who knows where.
And at this point, it'd be good for me to say that, at this point, Pat, you could totally reduce the supplement burden and coast, but you're one of those people that's like, okay, I've got these problems and I feel great, but I don't ever want to feel those problems. Let's get them out now. And then once they're done, then we'll reduce the supplement burden and things. I've got a few closing questions, messages that I want you to promote. And as I told you before the podcast, my number one goal for this podcast and for functional medicine is, I was not a believer. I knew nothing about functional medicine, and now this is all I preach. And if functional medicine hadn't found me, I wouldn't know. I would have been the 40-year-old having a heart attack, and everyone would have been like, wow, he does triathlons. Why is he having the heart attack? So what would you tell people out there that have never really experienced functional medicine and are hearing RFK and are hearing these things, but there's so much contradiction, so much conflict? What would you tell people?
Functional medicine is probably the only thing you can do to increase the likelihood that you'll have a decent life in your 70s, 80s, and maybe 90s. Traditional medicine will not, absolutely 100%. And remember, I sat on a hospital board for a decade, okay? By the way, if you break something, that's the place that you want to go. Okay, a bone, heart attack. I mean, that's where you want to go. But if you want to prevent or decrease the likelihood that you want to go in there, you have to embrace it. Statistically speaking, we absolutely we're a tragedy as a country. And if I do a lot of international travel. And I know it's fun to make fun of the Europeans for their lack of GDP, but I got to tell you, their longevity is higher than ours. They live lower stress lives, and their food is much higher quality.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know I can go to Europe and pound down stuff that Cerise says I probably shouldn't. And I come back and I've lost weight.
Yeah.
And I went to Europe for 2 weeks. Like, how did this happen? I lost weight.
What are we doing to our food?
No, totally. And I ate a lot of bread, had a few drinks when I was out there, and I lost weight. Okay. Now, it could be a combination of stress, but I just know from all the chemicals they put in there into our food system that there's an issue. So there is absolutely something here. And I think it used to be taboo to talk about these things, right? Because, oh my gosh, all the research studies. Now we're finding out that a lot of these research studies were funded by the companies who could potentially benefit.
Yep. Who sold the chemicals.
I grew up during the Weight Watchers era eating what my family was eating during Weight Watchers, and it was margarine, low fat. And let me be very clear. I eat
legal?
so much fat, it's not even funny. And
fat makes you skinny.
Fat is making me skinny in aggregate of everything else that I'm doing, but it is the real thing, okay? And the great part is you can second guess your functional medicine doctor all day long with ChatGPT deep research, which will pull up like 27 NIH studies, but watch who those studies, were funded by and what the sample rate is. But I think it's going to become much more mainstream. And what I'm hoping as a country is we will start putting all of this money that is going into health insurance and into functional medicine versus break fix. I mean, if I didn't do functional medicine, I probably would be dead at like 70, okay, or earlier.
And dysfunctional before then.
Totally.
Not just dead.
Yeah, and unable to do things, unable to pick up. I had my first grandkid.
Congrats.
This year, and the ability to just go on long walks in my 70s, 80s, and maybe 90s. I'm not under the illusion.
Good.
That I will live longer, guaranteed. But the quality, I am very quite convinced that the quality of life in my older age will be significantly better. And that's, by the way, why I've really gone hardcore into muscle mass. I see my dad, who's 88, who's deficient in muscle mass.
Yep, sarcopenia.
He's a vegan and, is not getting enough protein. And it's become a challenge for him.
Patrick, I know you're looking at the time. We got to wrap up. This has been fabulous. You're just one of our favorite patients. We just love you so much. You're such a poster adult child for our company and just for functional medicine in general, Patrick. So thank you for taking your time. Thank you for putting your story out there, which takes a bit of vulnerability, time out of your busy day. Patrick makes plenty of money, and this is not a paid segment, so we appreciate your donation.
And by the way, I just want to thank you guys for everything you've done.
What a great way to end it. We appreciate you. Cerise, anything to end us on? He's got a hard stop in 30 seconds.
No, I'm just super proud.
We're proud
to
of you.
see your
Thank
journey.
you. Thanks. Thanks again, folks.
Thanks again, Pat. We'll see you next